I'm Shelton Wilder, and welcome to Wilder Possibilities Podcast, where each episode follows an entrepreneur's journey into the transformative power of that light bulb moment where everything clicks. I call that the click. Those pivotal points that redefine our futures, illuminate paths to success, and even change the world. Now let's get wilder. Hi friends, welcome back to the Wilder Possibilities Podcast. Today I have my friend Sara Murray, who is a sales consultant, a speaker, and she also is an educator. Is that correct? And trainer. You do a lot of different things.
You got it.
Do a lot of great things. And you also have a podcast.
I do.
Yes.
We're celebrating the 100th episode in 3 days.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, well this is great timing to have you on. And your podcast is Prospecting on Purpose.
You got it.
I remember top. Yes.
We talk about all things sales, business, mindset, and prospecting.
Yeah, I've been on it.
You have.
And I
loved it. It was a fun episode too.
Yeah, it was really good.
That's great.
No, and that's how we met. That's why I think the podcast world, for me, it's been exciting because you know people but you really get to know people. I had one of my best friends on today, and I learned all these things about her. I've known her for 12 years, had no clue.
Well, it's such a different environment to have a conversation, too. And I think what's also really neat is that you learn a lot, too. I mean, I learned so much from interviewing people. I'm blowing my own mind with the guests that are sharing knowledge on the show. So it's been really fun.
Yeah, I love it, too. Yeah, I mean, and the opportunities that come. And so it's been so fun. So I have a very open format, and I will ask, I love to know like where people are from, first of all, and all this stuff about their history, and then when did they get the click? Because a lot of people have multiple ones. You might have one, but you've done a lot of amazing things. So I want to hear.
Well, it's so funny. I was thinking about it recently because I found my old Blockbuster video uniform and box in my parents' garage. And this was this summer, and I saved it until Halloween.
Yes, you wore that. I saw.
And people are like, where'd you get a Blockbuster shirt? I'm like, this is my shirt.
You're like, it's mine.
A 25-year-old shirt.
This is my name tag. Yeah.
But I was thinking about, so I worked at Blockbuster in high school, and I also worked at the country club. So I grew up in Park City, Utah.
Okay.
Before it is what it is
like
now.
Fancy Park City.
Yeah. This was like a post office and a grocery store.
Oh, wow.
Really small. Yeah. And my mom worked for Delta Airlines, and they're from LA. That's how we ended up in Utah. And I would always joke that the way that I got into sales is when you're an airline employee, you get to fly for free. It's a great perk, but you never get to sit together as a family. So I'd be a little kid sitting next to strangers on the plane, and I would just ask like, oh, excuse me, are you going to eat your chips? And so many times they would be so like surprised that I would either get a bag of chips, or sometimes they would say no, and then it was never a big deal. It just opened the door to a conversation.
Oh my gosh, you were so brave.
So I always joke like that's kind of how I got into talking to people. But then in high school, I worked at the country club, and I didn't realize at the time, but I was recently reflecting after finding my Blockbuster uniform, like your early careers do kind of shape where you go.
Oh my God, completely. Yeah.
Like what was your first job?
Well, I did a lot of babysitting, but my first real job, I got it the day I turned 16. I drove myself with my car to the mall, and it was at Benetton.
Oh,
and it was,
yeah, I love it. Yeah.
And it was sales, commission sales, and I was the top salesperson in the whole Southeast within 3 months.
Oh my gosh, as a 16-year-old.
Because I knew what to do. And but they taught me the biggest thing. It was Lori and John Lecker. Good job, guys. They said, stop talking about yourself. Nobody cares. So they would say that. They were like, keep the conversation going about them. Ask them questions about themselves. It was like wild to hear that as a 16-year-old. And I was like, oh, they're right. Like, I don't have to be like, oh, and then I did this. And then I did this. I mean, it's what I'm doing right now. But you did ask me.
Podcast
you did ask me.
It's a different environment.
But you did ask me. Yeah. But in sales. And I really have done that. So yeah.
And same with the country club. It was just being interested in other people, remembering their names, knowing what their kids were up to. And that particular job, I think, helped me be really comfortable with luxury clientele.
Oh, for sure.
And
yes, definitely.
I know, like, you and I have some similar crossover in our fields. Yep. Like, my background's in the construction industry, but sales into luxury hospitality. And I think what I didn't realize was a skill at the time until I got a little bit older, was the ability to connect with people quickly.
Yeah.
Establish the relationship, and then the sales became really easy.
Yeah, because it's not like selling is like sounds gross. Like it's not, you know what I mean? You don't want to be like, for me, like I can't sell a home. Like they have to fall in love. Like I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna sell this home. Then that's the times when they hate it. I feel like you push me into blah blah. I just am there to facilitate.
You're their guide.
And give my knowledge and all of that stuff. But like, not my money, not my house. Like they have to feel good, and I just can't be pushy. And I feel like you are very authentic, not pushy at all, because it feels yucky.
Well, and I think that's what separates like the varsity team from the Simon salespeople.
Yeah.
And it's not that hard when you figure it out. And I think that's really where I started my consulting firm 2 years ago.
Oh yeah.
And a big part of it is because I could see that people didn't know how to do this. And it's a totally teachable skill. And it's funny because I feel like the ability to build relationships authentically, quickly, genuinely, and then be able to pull business out of it, that's something that's teachable. And it's kind of a hard skill.
Yeah.
But if people put it in this soft skill category, and it's not. It's a really complex skill, but it's something that's teachable. And so that was kind of the origin story for the business. And that's a big part of what I focus on when I teach people certain, hard and soft sales skills.
Oh, with what you're doing now. Okay, so then after Blockbuster, what happened? Where'd you go?
Well, I worked at the country club for 6 years because I loved it.
Wait, 6 years, but what were you doing at the country club?
So when I was 14, I also babysat, and I was not a good babysitter.
Yeah.
I wasn't a bad babysitter. It just wasn't for me.
For you, yeah.
I just liked grown-ups more.
Yeah.
And so I was 14 when I got my first job, and I asked my parents if I got a job, would they drive me to work? And so I walked onto the country club lot, and I went to the snack bar, and I just asked if they were hiring. And this is funny. We had a golden retriever. I know you have cute
we
Buster.
did Buster.
I just met Buster. When I was in high school, I would do like therapy with the dog. So we had, our dog's name was Annie. We had her trained as a therapist, and we'd go to senior care facilities or children's hospitals and just have the dog there to kind of comfort patients and calm them down. And so that was my only work experience at age 14, but besides babysitting. And I happened to bring that up, and the woman who was the hiring manager of the country club also did animal therapy with her dog. And so then it was like a shoe-in, and I was the pool runner for a couple of years, taking food from the pool to the snack bar to the pool.
Yeah.
And then I managed the snack bar for up until I was 20.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And then
That's amazing.
Yeah, I graduated from college, and I moved to California as soon as I could. So
got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then in Los Angeles, I got a job marketing for a decorative hardware company, and that was okay. I enjoyed it, but our first big trade show we went to, the sales director had laryngitis. This is probably the click moment.
Okay, because that's what I'm like, where, yeah.
The sales manager had laryngitis, and she couldn't talk. And so I had to talk to people. And it was exactly what we're saying. Asking questions, learning about their business, learning where they're located, what's their clientele looking for, putting them with the right solution. And we opened more accounts at that show than in the company's history. And,
snap.
And
there you go.
at the end of the day, this man and this woman owned a showroom in Colorado. And they said, we just want to thank you so much. And I said, why are you thanking me? You just purchased. Like, I need to be thanking you. And the guy turned my shoulders and pointed me, and he says, look at all these other booths. And it was just men. We love our male sales guys, but there's just a lot of men sitting at a table with pamphlets. Just no energy. I call it product vomit. It's kind of gross, but just spewing products, not really caring, not listening.
Listening to what the actual client needs.
Yeah, and it just wasn't that hard. And so I think and then I ended up stepping into the sales director role after that person resigned from the company, and then just never looked back. So been in sales leadership roles my whole career prior to starting the business.
Okay, so then when did you move back to Park City?
I just moved back last year.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm coming back to LA. So it was more of just a season of life because I quit my job and my money.
Yeah. Oh,
my money went away, but it's coming back.
But you did that so you could start
your
own business, which is amazing being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You know?
have to sacrifice.
Yes.
There's more sacrifice than I think people realize.
Oh my God, that's why it's like being an entrepreneur. It's like, yes, we should get a little pat on the, I mean, it's like, oh my God, it really is so much. I mean, there's no, like, every month there's something that, I mean, it's constant.
More levels, more devils. That's the
yeah.
phrase. Like every time you accomplish something, you figure it out. Next problem
Yeah, and people
hits.
are like, oh, wow, yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, do you know what it takes? But I'm just a serial entrepreneur, so I can't do anything else. So it's just, there's no looking back. But actually doing that first step like you did is,
You know, I'm proud of something that really, thank you for saying that. That means a lot. And even being here, like, I think that's what's been really fun about this journey is you don't know where things are going to take you. And as long as you just stay really open.
yes. Yeah, constantly.
You know, like now we get
in the flow and, you know, open.
It always takes you
yes.
places. And I think that's really where, when I quit my job to start the business, it didn't matter how successful other entrepreneurs were and are, just like yourself. It was like I joined this club, and it didn't matter what level I was at.
Yeah, because we've been at every level.
Club.
Yeah, I've been at every level. I mean, yeah,
and I could feel people like reaching down to pick me up, and I feel like you're a person I put in that category. Like, it doesn't matter what level you're at because you're in the club. And now there's other people that are, I don't want to say behind me, you know, on the journey, but
but it is because I mean, when I was first doing real estate, because it is, I mean, I'm the CEO of a business.
Yeah.
I mean, I cried every day first 2 years. It was like devastating, you know, just like, are you kidding me? I was like, nope, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to show myself crying, but I'm not doing videos of me crying. They're popular right now. I'm like, no, nobody needs to see that. I'm like, I'm just going to cry and keep going.
Yeah.
And like, then do professional photo shoots and all this. People are like, what are you doing? I'm like, just trust.
Yeah.
You know, even my husband, I'm like, just stop, just trust. It has to work out.
That's the thing. And, you know, there's a lot of self-belief that has to come from it. And I had to really pay attention where I put my energy. Mm-hmm. I got a lot stricter with my boundaries because the people who weren't in my corner, like if you know, I saw, this is kind of I read this quote the other day and I can't stop thinking about it. People are either investments or expenses.
Oh, I've never heard that.
And there were some people that were just taking too much and they weren't.
Oh,
you know.
Are they on your profit and loss sheet? Which side are they on? Oh, no.
I mean, they're kind of not in the picture anymore because I kind of figured out,
exactly.
like, this isn't for me.
Oh, my gosh.
So that was a big change for me, too, because I'm a former people pleaser and I want people to like me. And
I feel that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think being good at sales, there is an underlying people pleaser. I mean, the people pleaser for me has been very helpful. Even I always said, even getting sober, I like wanted to get an A in my program. So it was like that part, some of your best part. And that now I said, like when I went to Necker Island, I was like, I left my people pleaser behind, but it's still around, you know? I mean, like if you want to be great for client service, there's some times that you have to take care of your client. You have to put them first, right?
Always. I mean, and it takes a lot, I think, to really draw a hard line. Like people have to really mess up or really show you that you're not the one. And
oh yeah, I had to block somebody recently. Like I'm like, oh my God, but it's just like I can't.
Yeah.
This is unacceptable. It's gone too far, and this is past any line in the sand. This is like miles past my line in the sand. So we have to be done here. But like it takes a lot. Yeah. Like you and I are similar.
You're not going out with a machete cutting people off. They have to give you a reason. But I do think that that's a skill that I had to learn. And I wish that I had some of these skills in my corporate life because I didn't have some of these skills.
They don't want you to have those skills in corporate life.
But you know what? If I had some of them, I probably would have still been there, you know? And I did a podcast episode recently and it was 8 tips to set boundaries at work.
Oh, wow.
And the YouTube episode took off and my little LinkedIn clip went viral. Yeah. And I wasn't dropping, you know, crazy information, but I had a lot of views on it. And now I'm thinking, wow, this is an area that people really struggle with.
A lot.
And if I had some of these things that I learned in entrepreneurship in my corporate life, maybe I wouldn't have quit. So I think I might be building a workshop around setting boundaries at work because there's clearly a need for it.
That's a hot topic because I think people are looking for that.
Well, and different generations don't understand them either. I mean, I think that's another thing where I think it could be a bridge between the 5 different generations in the workforce, is just helping have some common language and understanding where the other people are coming from.
Yeah, because boomers and Gen X, I'm Gen X, we were not taught anything about boundaries or work-life balance or anything like that. So then when there's people that come in that are Gen Z and they're like, oh, I just need work life, and you're just like, wait, what?
I don't understand.
You're like, but I understand the language, and I don't want to be on the wrong side of it, but growing up working, I didn't have that.
This is not a thing.
No, it was just like, go, hustle hard. Yeah.
And I think there's a lot to be said. I think one of the biggest challenges that I see my clients struggle with and certain industries struggle with. So my industries I focus on are hospitality, luxury residential, real estate, technology, and manufacturing construction products. And I see the same thing across all industries. And it's really where people are having a hard time, I think, understanding where the other person's coming from. Like, everyone has their own view of reality. And if you can get really clear on understanding different people's perspectives, I think that's another way you can really differentiate yourself and how you show up in your life and your family. So one of the things that I had to learn recently was, what's my perspective on whatever situation's coming up? What's the other person's perspective? And then what's a third party, no skin in the game, objective observer, God, whoever you want to put in that third party role. But if you look at it from those 3 angles, it just really dissolves I don't say it dissolves everything, but it simmers you down a little bit when you're getting upset or triggered.
That's so true. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so interesting. And I feel like you have, is it called
Fractional VP of sales.
Yes. So that's been also a hot topic that I never even heard of that until a few years ago, where explain what it is.
Sure. So fractional role, I think it started in the finance industry, or CFO role. So medium businesses wouldn't need a full-time chief financial officer.
Yeah.
That just wasn't a need. There wasn't the budget to pay someone because they didn't have a full-time job for that. So my understanding is it started in the CFO role.
Okay.
So if you were an entrepreneur and you had, CFO or fractional experience, you could offer your services as a part-time. So maybe 10 hours a week, I'll be your CFO, or however many weeks out of the year it takes for your particular business. And then that company, instead of paying a full-time person, salary, benefits, all that stuff, they just pay for the fractional time they're buying.
Those hours.
And so then another industry that's really taking off is the chief marketing officer, fractional CMO. And with my background and my sales experience, it's really turning into a fractional VP of sales or chief revenue officer. But most of my clients that I'm working with now, they have, they're probably anywhere from 10 million, 20 million, 90 million. That's kind of my range.
Yeah.
I do have a client that I'm working with that's $1 billion client. So that's not a fractional role there, but it's a team that doesn't need a full-time person, but they might need coaching, support, direction, strategy, go to market. How are you positioning your product or your service? And I think there's 2 things that I really package. And the first is, how are you getting to the ultimate decision maker? Because a lot of times,
I feel like there's so many steps in front of, just to get the one answer.
It's really hard. Yeah. And a lot of times, especially in B2B environments, you don't always have a seat at the table with the decision maker. So I would be selling into hotels. The ultimate decision maker is the owner of the hotel. but you have a brand, you have an architect, you have an interior designer, you have all these people that you almost need to sell on your behalf. So one of the things that I really focus on when I'm working with someone is understanding what problems are we solving for the different stakeholders. And they might not be the decision maker. So the hotel owner is the guy or gal writing the check, but the guest is still interacting with your stuff in the room. And so you have to think about how it helps the guest, how it helps the owner, how it helps the staff.
Oh, wow.
So kind of changing your messaging to be more storytelling, selling to business model versus product facts. That's really where I think that the secret sauce is in success is if you can eloquently explain what you do and how it impacts their business, or in a consumer environment, how does it change their lives? Like selling residential homes, that's the most intimate.
Yeah.
But it's like, how is their life going to be improved if they make this decision and if they buy this home or this product or this thing? So I think that's really the biggest pivot. So if anyone's listening, you need to start thinking, and you're in a role where you're putting yourself out there, you're wanting people to buy your product or service. You really have to think about what problems are you solving and how are you explaining that?
Oh yeah, that's great. And then we were talking before about, like, you were going to give us some other tips.
Sure.
Yeah, about with the soft versus hard. Yeah.
I think I've always been able to get to the decision maker, but I realized that what I would see in my peers and other companies, now in the teams that I teach, when we're trying to get to someone who we deem important, decision maker, high profile person, we put them up on this pedestal.
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
Oh my God. I talk with my lady about the pedestal. I really suffer from the pedestal.
You do?
Me.
Interesting. I feel like you're on a pedestal.
No,
I feel like people would be intimidated to reach out to you.
Well,
you're so friendly.
I'm just so chill.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, but like, I've done that my whole life that I didn't even realize, even at this age. Like, oh my gosh. So
you put people up on a pedestal, and then you're down here and you're trying to jump up on the pedestal.
It's crazy. I mean, it's getting better.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I have 3 steps to help you get on the pedestal.
Okay, let's do it.
I call it bridge the gap, because the gap is, us on the ground and the person on the pedestal. So the G stands for genuine interest. You have to be interested in others, just like what they taught you at Benetton's, right?
Yeah. It's so true.
And I always joke, like, there's kind of 3 areas of genuine interest. The first is using people's names. Like, remembering people's names is something that's so easy to set you apart.
Yeah.
At the country club when I was 14, I could just remember everyone's names.
They thought you were a genius.
Are you a doctor or a mister? And then I'd call them what they wanted to be called. It wasn't that hard, but I always got these big Christmas bonuses at the end of the year, and I knew it was because I could just remember their names and the name of their kids. So I think remembering people's names, and I will say, it's just a pet peeve, so I want to talk about it. There's this phrase you hear out and about all the time where people say they're just terrible with names or they're bad with names. And if you are bad with names, that's okay, but maybe reframe how you say it to people. Because when we use people's names, we're connecting to their humanity, their identity, their culture. So when you kind of do a flippant statement, like, oh, I'm just really horrible with names, you're kind of telling the other person they don't matter to you.
Oh, wow.
And so you're just already right out the gate kind of putting a little negative deposit in their emotional bank, So do your best to work on name recollection and use people's names in a thoughtful way. And that's just the easiest kind of first tip.
I used to, and I have to get better about it too, but there's 2 like Southern things that I do. The first is I was always like, oh my gosh, so good to see you. And people are like, have we met? But that's like Southern. You never say like, nice to meet you.
Right.
It's like, so good to see you.
But that's great.
Yeah. And so people are like, oh yeah, hey, it's just, I don't know. That's just the culture. And then when I had my concierge business, I would like literally write in my phone the name, like even the valet guys.
Smart.
I would put their name. I would like put a description. I would like put it on my phone, and then right before I went, I would check it again. So I did look like a
Hey,
genius.
George.
Yeah. Oh my God. And then my clients would be like, she even knows the ballet.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, she's like a celebrity. But I've got to be better. I mean, it's just, this is really good.
Well, I think
Good
you're already
connection
doing
again.
it. And I think that that's such an important, like, there's so many ways we can use our tools. Like,
Yeah.
notes app in your phone, save it in their contact. Just
Yes, like make a contact. Yeah.
even if you forget their name, it's okay. Just don't say you're bad with names. Just say, forgive me. Please remind me your name.
Please
Yeah,
remind
just
me your name
change-
again. Yeah.
Just change the
yeah.
language.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So use your names. That's a big tip. The other thing I like to talk about, just because it's fun, is icebreakers. They're not like a cringy team building game.
Yes,
It's more of just a way to open a conversation.
Okay.
So I have different salsa flavors: mild, medium, and spicy.
Okay. I'm spicy.
Yeah, for sure. So we can do fun
Spicy girl.
icebreakers. So like a mild icebreaker would say, how's the weather, traffic.
Yeah.
Medium might be, where'd you meet your wife, like a little more personal. And then the spicy icebreakers, they're so fun.
Okay, wait.
So like, who was your childhood celebrity crush?
Oh.
That's a spicy icebreaker.
Oh, yeah. Who would that be? I can't even remember.
Mine was Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, just
for
that,
Titanic. I saw like 5 times. I'm right in that age.
That is
Block
so
us
great.
uniform.
Yes.
So that I mean, you're not going to walk up to a stranger or a client and start with that. But like, I'm just going to challenge you, Shelton. If you're out with a client and there's like a little lull in conversation, the way that you can bring up spicy icebreakers is you use a buffer. So you can say, hey, I was listening to the Wilder Possibilities podcast on my drive to meet you, and the guest was talking this nonsense about who was your childhood celebrity crush, but it got me thinking. So you kind of use a buffer to introduce the topic. But what this does is it gives you some really quick connection points.
Yeah.
It makes you more memorable. And it just kind of breaks the pattern and the monotony of
The
like,
same. Yeah.
So, I mean, other ones are, what's your
tell-
go-to karaoke song?
Okay.
If we're stranded on a desert island, you can only have one meal or one food type.
Oh,
I don't know, just fun things that are
Yeah.
a little bit different.
that is fun.
If you were an animal, what kind of animal would you be?
Oh my God.
You can't say dog. It has to be a caveat.
You can't be Buster.
Yeah, because everyone picks dogs.
Yeah.
You need to be like more exotic, but it just opens the door to a conversation.
Yeah.
And I ran into, we're in Los Angeles, so we have a brewery, the Golden Road Brewery. You've probably seen their beers. This was probably, I don't know, 8 years ago, and I'm at a trade show, and I see a guy walking by and is, got his badge on, and it's Tony, ABC Pubs, Burbank, California. And I knew the owner of Golden Road was named Tony because it was on the menus. And I used to go there. And so I said, oh, excuse me, are you Golden Road, Tony? So that would be my spicy, my mild icebreaker, like just opening the door. And he says, actually, it's Anheuser-Busch. I sold the brewery to Anheuser last year. And so I was like, oh my gosh, and you gave him a high five. I was like, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I have to tell you, I hope they keep the hearts of palm ceviche on the menu because I'm a vegetarian and that's my favorite dish. And he starts getting all excited. He said, that's my recipe. I'm a vegetarian too. So like we had all this instant connection points. And I said, so I asked him a spicy icebreaker. I said, so what are you going to do with all your Anheuser-Busch money? He says, well, I'm opening 5 new restaurants in Los Angeles. And then I was able to say, oh, have you considered fire features? At the time, I was selling fire.
Oh my gosh, that's
now
so
we're
funny.
in the booth, and now we're talking about fire for his restaurants. But those 2 seconds, those 2 minutes of
That you
engagement.
spotted that,
But it
Tony.
happens everywhere. Like I was in New York, and I was celebrating my 100th podcast episode, and they gave me I was at the Virgin in New York, and they gave me a $100 coupon when I checked in for the spa. I said, I have time. I'll go get a facial with my $100 coupon.
Yeah.
So I check in. I tell the front desk gal that I was celebrating my 100th podcast so I'm taking $100.
It's a huge deal, by the way.
It's 2 years.
Yeah, I mean it's
weekly.
It's 2 years.
Yeah.
So that's my goal. Is at least get to 100 because it really.
And I have noticed a big shift.
Yes,
once you're getting closer,
because so many people. Sorry, this is off the.
Yeah.
But what I've heard is that there's tens of thousands of podcasts started, but people just don't stick with it.
I heard if you get to number 8, you're already above average.
Oh, really? Oh my! See, you know the stats better, but they said that if you hit to 100, then that like shows a sign of success or something. I don't know.
That makes a lot of sense because I've been starting to get emails. I get emails pretty frequently with people wanting to be guests on the show.
Wow! See?
Yeah, but they're not always. It might be like not appropriate guests for the audience. But I've been starting to get some really heavy hitters that I don't know, but if they're an appropriate fit, I'll take the interview.
Yeah.
I've been meeting some really badass people.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing anything. They're coming to me.
I think it's that because it shows
that makes sense.
The consistency.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same with my Instagram with my Wilder Wednesdays. I mean, people literally call me that as my name. They're like, "Hey, Wilder Wednesday," because it's like brand recognition. It's like because you just done something consistent so long, not giving up.
Yeah.
And it really. That sometimes is bigger than what name you would have on or something. It's just like showing that you're always going to do it, that you can, you're like a reliable person.
I never thought about it that way.
You do what you say you're going to do. Like I've said, I'm going to do 100 podcasts. So it's like, well, I have to do it.
And it is hard. I mean, I've been on the road, I've been sick, and I'm like, oh, I got to do the podcast.
Yeah.
So I just like recorded it all nasally because I didn't want to miss a week. And
yeah, me too. I'm like not 100%. I'm like, nope, I got 4 scheduled today.
Yeah.
I'm like, Sarah's flying in. Like, we're like, I'm suiting up and showing up. So yeah,
and it really does keep you disciplined.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's interesting. I'll keep you posted. I'm starting to get some really great inquiries. I'm like, where is this coming from?
No, it's from the 100. Okay, so you're getting your $100 facial.
So I just made a comment when I was checking in for the facial. And a gal pops out of the back and she says, "We need to talk," and points at me. And she hands me her business card and she's the national sales manager for all of the spas across the country.
Oh my God.
But it's just like,
wow.
You just never know. On my rental car this morning, I was on the shuttle and I'm chatting with these 2 guys. They were in town for a trade show. They're looking for a new showroom for their products. So I start offering my opinion because I lived in LA for 15 years and telling them the different neighborhoods. They're from Canada. And then I offered, I said, would you be open to some ideas? And I said, sure. So I start telling him, so what's your LinkedIn? And so later he's the founder and CEO of this company that we're talking about. Like he could be a potential client. So it's just, you just never ever know.
Wow.
But if you don't, ask questions, be interested, start the conversation, the sales stuff becomes really seamless. So step 1 of this bridge the gap is just genuine interest. You have to be interested in others. And then step 2, I call it ABAV. Always be adding value.
Yes.
And so,
so
and this is like a mindset and an embodiment. And I know you are that way. You can tell the people who understand this because you can see how successful they are usually. Like the givers are the ones who.
Yeah. But I like really care. That's what it's like. I want to put people up. I want to uplift.
Yeah. And you add value. And so any situation to anyone. I love that you mentioned the valet guy because.
Oh, yeah. And everybody. Yeah.
You just never know. And that has to just be embodied because once you add, I call him, Stephen Covey coined this term, the emotional bank account.
Oh,
so if you're always adding value, you have these little emotional bank account deposits that you're piling up. And so they don't have to cost money either. And I think that's one thing that it shouldn't be transactional. It's not salesy. I'm not giving you this because I'm going to ask you for something. No. And that's really, I think, the biggest difference. And so some quick examples. One way, so my grandpa lived in Hacienda Heights. My grandparents lived in Hacienda Heights, and they had an avocado tree. And I would, during avocado season, like September, October, I would bring a suitcase full of avocados back to Pennsylvania.
Oh my gosh.
And I would carry it on, because TSA would.
Oh, that you would have you would have guacamole in your bag if you didn't care.
This is like thousands of dollars of avocados.
It is. They're like $5 each now.
Yeah. And they're like the good Fuentes kind with the soft skin, so you can't get them in stores. And obviously, no preservatives. So I would bring them to our corporate office and I would just just walk around and give people avocados and say, hey, this is from my grandpa's tree, from California. And it let me talk about what I was interested in, like my grandpa, my grandparents,
so sweet.
And then, but what would happen is, maybe 3 years down the line, I had a problem and I need to call someone. I can call my buddy Rob at corporate and he's going to answer the phone.
Be like, this is an avocado, girl.
Because I had a deposit. But the thing is, I'm not giving an avocado thinking in 3 years, I'm going to have a problem and I'm going to need to call you. It really has to come from a place of sincerity.
Yes, exactly.
And I think the biggest emotional bank account deposit you can do is something that helps someone in their life or business. So, but that doesn't have to cost money.
Exactly. That's why I love connecting people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's why I have Wilder Women and I just host it. And I say that the only, you have
so many.
Yeah. I was like, the only requirement is that you meet a new friend and send me a selfie.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't want there's no exchange, no money, no any, it's just like, I honestly want people to do well, work together, succeed.
But you know what?
Yeah.
So I got 2 business opportunities out of that networking event.
Yeah. But but fantastic. I would never be like, I need to log those. No, it's like, it's just cool.
But the thing is, if and when you need a favor from me, I will run through fire for you because you have so many emotional bank account deposits in my bank, Well,
I've never thought that's like putting a term on it.
Yeah.
But that is.
Well, and I think an easy way, I'm going to give your audience a suggestion. One of the easiest ways to help put a deposit in your bank account, and I have this for my podcast too. When people leave a review, if they rate the show on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review, do a little rating on it. It takes 3 seconds. It's free, but that goes so far. And I was connected with someone recently, and she's a big deal, former VP of marketing at a major brand everyone knows. And on LinkedIn, she posted she has a podcast too, and she asked for reviews on her podcast. And so I went and I listened to an episode. It was 25 minutes, and I wrote a review. And I looked back at the LinkedIn post, and she had over 200 likes on it and 40 comments.
Wow.
And only 2 people left reviews. It's all this person asked for was a review. And all it took was 25 minutes. I didn't even have to listen to an episode, but I wanted to. And it just baffles me because people are telling you what they need, and it's just so easy to get these bank accounts. So I just met her in New York, actually, when I was there. So,
that's so
And now we might work together, too. So, but you have to do these little things because then the sales part becomes easy.
Because then, but it really makes a difference. Yeah. Because I remember that stuff, too. People are, they're so nice. And
so just adding value as just part of your... always be adding value. That's step 2. And that really leads to the final piece of the bridge the gap is prized clients and prized relationships. Because then it becomes a feedback loop. Because this is now, once you're on the pedestal with them, it's a lot easier to ask for business. Hey, Tony, what are you doing with your Anheuser-Busch money? 5 new restaurants. Oh, let's talk fire. It becomes really organic.
Yeah.
And so that's really, I think, the easiest way to feel more confident in what you bring to the table is if you're coming from a place of service, of genuine interest, and adding value. And then it becomes a lot easier to ask for an introduction, for an opportunity, for the order, to move forward, it's for a referral, for a testimonial, all that becomes easier if you're on the pedestal with them.
Altogether, yeah. I mean, it's become better with me, but I don't know. I used to have that weird thing.
I think a lot of people do.
Yeah. I mean, and people are like, oh, you're so successful. I'm like, I know, but I'm so easy to, I'm just so chill. I don't know. It's just when you think that is it? I don't know. It's very strange.
But I think people listening, I think you have to have enough confidence in the value that you bring to the table, whether the other person knows it or not. So you think about all the different ways you add value to other people with your Wilder Women, with your content you share on social media, with the actual services you provide your clients, with the podcast. So you're adding so much value.
Yeah.
So if you're going to approach someone who's intimidating you, you have so many tools in your toolbox to add value to them.
So true. Yeah.
You just need to remember it. And I think that's the thing. It's we have to remember the value we bring. And sometimes the other person doesn't know it, but it's our job to show it to them. And we can do that with care and love.
Yeah. But just showing it to them. That's kind of like the Southern thing where you're just like, well, I don't want to be braggy or tell or like ego. But sometimes you have to tell people what you're doing. I always think everybody sees it on my Instagram. It's like, not everybody's just stalking your page and seeing what you're doing all the time. It's like you have to kind of, you can't, well, that was still like being an agent. You can't be a secret agent. That's why I put myself out there a lot. But sometimes for me, this is a good reminder. It's like you can't like.
And you bring a good point. People, I think, want to help you and you're not, I'm saying you collectively. They want to help us. But sometimes they don't know how. And so if you're giving them specifics,
be direct.
I remember, so I have 3 different, keynote and workshops that I offer as part of my services. And at the Wilder Wednesday networking opportunity, my ask was if anyone has a role where they're hiring speakers for an event or a sales kickoff, please consider me. And it was a little uncomfortable for me to ask that too.
I know it's even hard for me.
But the person, shout out to Jen came up to me. She had listened to Prospecting on Purpose
my God,
which was wild.
That is so cool.
And it was really cool. And then she said, I have this event I'm planning in April, send me your stuff.
Oh my gosh.
So if I hadn't asked,
then how would anybody have known?
Exactly. So I think that, we all struggle with it. But if you're coming from a place of service, it's going to help other people. It's going to add value to their lives. Like, be confident in what you offer the world.
Exactly. Yeah. I love that. Oh my gosh. Well, this has been so great. I feel like you gave so much value here today.
Thank you.
So helpful. And how are we all going to find you?
So my website's really easy. It's my first and last name. So Sara, S-A-R-A, Murray, MURRAY.com. I spend a lot more time on LinkedIn than Instagram. That's one of my 2025 goals, to get a little better on the other platforms.
I need to switch because I am terrible. I just found messages from like 4 months ago or 5 months. And I was like, oh no. I was like, I'm not a jerk. I just have not seen what, LinkedIn on Instagram, like bam, right back to you.
I'm going to post that we were together.
Yeah, let's post
on mine.
Yes.
And so I hang out on LinkedIn, Sara Murray Sales. And then the podcast is called Prospecting on Purpose. Yeah. And we're celebrating our 100th episode. So I want to thank you for having me on the show too. It's so fun to be friends with you. I've been so... you're someone who's so open to things.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it cool, because you never know where things are going to go. Well, so I appreciate your openness and your giving spirit.
Well, the reason that we first started talking was through
our friend Beth Bloom.
Oh, Beth.
Bloom
love Beth. Yes, Beth Bloom Design. She's amazing. But it was because you were so generous and offered to give me some tips on starting my podcast. Just for fun and for free. You were so sweet. You were so helpful. And now it's like all full circle now.
Yeah.
So
cool.
That's really cool. And so
you just never know. Like, we might work together when I'm ready to buy in LA. You're my realtor.
Well, it'll be that. And then if I'm like setting up a huge sales force, maybe you're coming in to,
I'm here for you.
You just never know. So I love it and I'm grateful. So yay. Everybody go follow, listen, watch, all the things. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye. I'm Shelton Wilder, and welcome to Wilder Possibilities Podcast, where each episode follows an entrepreneur's journey into the transformative power of that light bulb moment where everything clicks. I call that the click. Those pivotal points that redefine our futures, illuminate paths to success, and even change the world. Now let's get wilder.